Hi everyone, I'm Allison. Thank you for joining me for Where I'm From 142 with Jennie. What have you been reading? I read What My Mother and I Don't Talk About, an anthology edited by Michelle Philgate. And interestingly enough, it was recommended to me by Jennie, who's joining me today. And I thought it was a really great anthology. It's 15 essays, and the writers included in the collection are impressive, and their writing is great. And I found it really like it was a page turner for me. And the title might make you think it wouldn't be, or that it would be tough to read, but I thought it was really engaging. And obviously, and Jennie, who's joining me right now, this book, I read it and you recommended it, and I'm accepting, and it's not working, but it'll work eventually. And I hope everyone who accepted like 4 times. You're on your phone, right, Jennie? So you have to be on your phone. And um, I'll invite you again. Oh, no. Oh, it says you. Um, okay. It's been like 7 times. Um, I got a heart from you, so that means you're on your phone. If it doesn't work, we can also just start over and try again. Proved it like 10 times, Jennie. And now it says you're unable to join. Hi. Okay, so I'm gonna just try. I think Jennie said hi in the chat. That's why I said hi like that. Oh, yay! I approved it like 15 times. I was like,
I'm not the best tech person, but
no, it's got
I
nothing to do with you. Instagram is just persnickety, let's say. And did you see what book I just read? The
yeah
book you recommended to me.
yeah
Yeah,
I
so
I
good.
love that anthology.
It's really good.
Yeah,
And I think the title can be a little intimidating.
she's she's doing another one.
Is
Things we
she?
don't Things I don't talk about with my father is what it's
No.
called. So yeah, it is a little intimidating, but I think for anybody who is considering childhood in any way, they're great
Yes.
perspectives.
I thought it was really beautifully done, and
Yeah.
I found it engaging, and I didn't think it was like, I don't know. I think the title might make you think, oh, this is just going to be like a book of horrors, but I didn't find it to be a book of
No,
horrors.
not at all. And when you read people's perspective on childhood as a
Hmm.
mother, it takes on a whole new meaning when
Yeah. Hmm.
realize that your children will be the authors of
Hmm.
those essays one day
Hmm.
too.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember from both
Yeah,
perspectives,
absolutely.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, how are you? It's great to see you. Thanks
I'm
for having
good.
me.
It's great to see you too. And Lynn is here. Hi,
Hi, Lynn. I know I get so easily distracted, so I'm not going to look down at like
Yes, that's fine. That's
whoever
fine.
joins. But
Um,
I'm here. I'm not in my own home. I'm somewhat on vacation. I'm with a bunch of high school seniors who are vacationing and celebrating their graduation. So I'm here in an Airbnb, watching the cars go by with my own big stack of books.
and what are you reading
And
right now?
so I always, probably like everyone who writes, I carry around like a stack of books with me. So I'm getting really excited for Jamie Attenberg's Thousand Words of Summer. Her,
Mm.
this group that she does that anyone can join, where every day, I don't know if it's for a month or 5 weeks, but you commit to writing 1,000 words every day.
Okay.
And it's wonderful. There's a great community. She's written entire books in this way. Um, and so she has a book called 1,000 Words of Summer, and it's from the perspective of writers and what it means to write 1,000 words. So it's kind of a craft book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I also have Easy Beauty by Chloe Cooper Jones, which my friend Sanel Barnes recommended to me,
Mm-hmm.
that I've been reading in fits and starts. And then I always carry the Best of Brevity around with me,
Oh, that's
because
a good
I
one.
I
Mm-hmm.
feel like if I'm traveling, if
Mm-hmm.
I, no matter what, I can always read 750 words. So
Right.
I always have time for that. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I guess I'm not really a math person, but maybe numbers are important to
It
me.
seems like
So
they are.
some way, yeah,
From that introduction. And I
yeah,
mean, that's part of the reason sometimes, they say essay collections are difficult to sell or whatever, agent
yeah,
type people. And I love essay collections. Like, I
yeah,
love reading them by anthologies by multiple authors, but also by one author. Like, I
yeah.
do like being able to dip in and out in that way. And also, I just think it sometimes can force the writer to be very specific, and I appreciate that.
I really enjoy and admire that. And speaking of which, when I went to sit down and work on this poem, the first thing that I did, I was really afraid to write it because I'm not a poet, and
Me neither.
I also don't think that, my life growing up in suburbia was very interesting, which is not true. All
Right.
childhoods are filled with
Agree.
wonder and
Yes.
imagination,
Hmm.
conflict, strife.
Hmm.
But the first thing that I did is I looked at the word count of the original poem so that I could kind of
You
like make
do
a
care about
frame.
numbers, Jenny.
I do. And whenever I'm working on a chapter for something,
Hmm.
I like it's one of the first questions I ask.
Hmm.
How many words am I supposed to write? I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe it's the part of me that I mean, maybe it has something to do with imposter syndrome a little bit. Like at least that's one thing I could be successful at is the number
Hmm.
that it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
But I also think that it's kind of like having some nice boundaries when you're staring down something that isn't finished yet, something that hasn't
Hmm.
been done.
I mean, I can see the piece about imposter syndrome
Oh,
for sure. Like, because I
yeah.
also just want to deliver what people want. Like,
Yeah.
I have that same desire. And I think it does also word count sort of lets you know the scope of what they're looking for. That's why I'm always curious. Like, obviously, there's a big difference between 750 words and 3,000 words in
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
depth you're going to go in a story or
Yeah.
how much, landscape you're going to cover. So I do think for me, it's
Yeah.
both. And I do want to know
Yeah.
too, just for my time. Like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
are you looking for? Because that's the thing I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So
I
let's
think it
save time.
was, I've got a couple teachers that I work with, and one of them is named Estella Erasmus, and she's terrific. But one of the tips, she has a book, and one of her
Mhm.
tips, when you're looking at a publication where you want to, you
B.
know,
Hmm.
if you want to write it before you submit it,
Hmm.
you just go back and you read other pieces and you
Yeah.
highlight and copy and paste and see what the word count is. So I don't
Hmm.
know, maybe that's a habit that I picked up from her too. That's one of the first things when I'm feeling a little bit lost or overwhelmed or
Hmm.
kind of looking for a place to like I always imagine like wrestling a topic to the ground, almost like in stapling it down, gathering it up, stapling it down, holding it. Um, and the word count is a great place to start. Like, okay, you're gonna be 750 words. Let's go. And then you write like 2,000 words, and now what do I do?
It just makes me laugh too because when people say, "Oh, just tell the story you need to tell," it's like, yes. Also,
Yeah, not everybody wants to
what's the
read
word count?
the whole of the story I want to tell.
So, what was the word count of the original poem, Jenny?
Oh my God, I knew you were going to ask me that. I
I
don't
don't know.
remember, but I know that I went over.
Mm.
I know I went over, but I didn't go
Oh,
over by much.
well, so, I mean, and it's not a standard, as anyone who knows who's joined
Yeah,
me here. If you ask me what you should write, I'm always like, whatever you feel. I'm the person who says, whatever
I
you
know.
want
I,
to write,
I did ask
you
you
should
that.
write.
I
Even though
asked
when
you
people
for
say it
some
to me, I'm
feedback,
like
and you said
panicked.
no, no, just do what you want. And it's really funny.
Uh,
One of my daughter, one of my children asked me the other day. I really wanted this child had an appointment.
mhm. They
I
do, children.
like a generic random
Hmm.
doctor's appointment or something like that. And I really like all of my kids are young adults and they have such busy, rich lives,
Yeah.
which I'm so thankful for after raising young adults in
Yeah.
lockdown. They're out in the world
Yeah.
now, and I'm so happy about it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm also at a stage in my own life where I gotta let go. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
gotta let them make their decisions. Gotta let them go.
Yeah.
But so one of my children had like all these wonderful things, and I just said, listen, like, this is great. I'm really happy for you, but there's one thing there's one thing that I want. And she goes, for me to be happy? And I go, no, for you to go to this doctor's appointment. But I was thinking, like, that must be what, like, the parents of that sounds very much like the Gen X parent, right? Like, I just want you to be happy,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe how insincere that actually sounds when you say that all the time. So, yeah. Anyway, that's kind of what you were like when I said, like, hey, can you give me some guidance on this? And you were like,
No,
no.
no, I just don't want to get in anyone's way. I mean, I
Yeah.
created the space I think that I wanted, which was just like accepting and, come and share part of yourself and I want to hear it. Let's be in collaboration
Yeah.
with each other, creating this space. So that's me. But also I appreciate people who are very direct and clear about what they want. But that's not this space.
Well, I really love the spirit of that. And actually, this poem came to me at this is a great time for me to write a poem like this, because, as I said, I'm the mother of young adults, and
Yes.
your philosophy of, like, I just want to stay out of your way, like, that's my job now. Like, get out of their
Yeah.
way. And I always think about how when I was their age, the smartphone didn't exist.
Thank God.
Right.
I think
I
about
said
it
that to
all the
a friend of mine
time.
from high school. Sent me a photo yesterday, and I was like,
Oh my
thank
God.
you, God, that we didn't have
Oh,
the internet or
oh my God.
smartphones, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, that's kind of my job now, is to stay out of their way. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really hard when it's really hard, but also it's kind of an excuse. It's not that hard. I just have to do it. But I love them, and I think they're, like, amazing, and I
You
enjoy being
can
with them.
tell
But
how much you love them, even just from your social media. Like I, a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, where you just said, "I'm so grateful to be here for this joy,"
yes,
and I
yeah,
just
I get to be
like thought
here.
that was so beautifully put. And I feel that way too. I don't share about my children on social media, but I feel that way all the time. Like
Yeah,
I'm just so grateful I get to be here for this
yeah,
joy, and I don't know if it's related to the losses I've experienced in my life or the losses you've experienced in your life, but
yeah.
I definitely feel like it's such a privilege.
Yeah, I I've I've lost a couple of friends
Mhm.
in my time of being a
Yeah.
mother, where I just I should have brought Kleenex. I knew I was going to probably cry talking about this stuff, but it's not my house. I don't even know where the Kleenex are. Um, I I I'm influenced by them still.
Yeah.
These women that I love, who uh, have gone while raising children, and I think of them like, I don't know, maybe it's a way that I honor them and what they meant to me,
Mhm.
to truly, like, savor the experience,
Mhm.
including the really challenging experiences,
Yeah.
which is another thing that I thought about as I was writing this poem about, how challenging childhood is, how hard it is for
Mhm.
everyone. It's hard
Mhm.
for everyone. And I don't know, conversations always kind of go in loops, but I was just talking about this with my family yesterday, kind of about, like, the fantasies that we live in every
Mhm.
day, and how
Mhm.
living in fantasy sometimes is what makes life
Mhm.
survivable. Um, and
Literally. I mean, sometimes like it is literally the thing that keeps you able to function. Hmm.
yeah, and I think that we have a fantasy that childhood is magical, and I
Mm,
don't think that it
hmm.
is. I think it's actually really, really hard,
Hmm.
and painful. There are so many reasons why it's painful. One is that you have no control,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
autonomy.
Yeah.
Another is that learning is difficult,
Hmm.
not just academic learning, but learning through mistakes, which is how we all know not to do the thing, not to make the same mistake
Yeah.
twice. It's really hard. I'm always thankful that our family, like, my family we get along. We're a normal family, but we get
Mm-hmm.
along. And we're a big family. I have 4 kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't live in a big house. And I'm always thankful that during COVID, I was always thankful, like, okay, at least we get along. But even though we get along, like,
Mm-hmm.
everybody needed space. You know,
Mm-hmm.
certain kids were outside sitting on the bench, or, doing car tailgates or whatever, like getting their space. But that's not the case for a lot of people.
No.
They might not get along with the people who they live with. That's another challenge of childhood. It is hard, and I've thought about this a lot. And my friend Sanel, I mentioned her earlier. She's also a teacher. She was my teacher before she became my friend, and she says that she really encourages writers to consider what is the question that you're trying to answer in the thing that you're writing, or what are the questions that you're trying to answer. And that was a question that I had, like, what if I think that childhood is hard, and I do, and I used to be a middle school teacher, by the way, as well. So I've got a couple. I was a child, I taught children, and I have children. So those are my different perspectives on childhood. What is it that makes it, and if I believe that we have a fantasy about the magic of childhood, if I believe that that's not true, then what is true?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's that children are equipped with a sense of wonder. And that is the saving grace of childhood, to be able to see everything as new and somewhat wonderful, maybe magical looking, watching a cookie rise in the oven, putting your hands into slime. Remember the slime when the kids were just crazy about that? Like, slime exists. Glue can turn into slime. Jello, stars, music, TikTok, being able to dance with your friends and put it to music. Like, that's wonder. And I feel like if you can make it through childhood with that sense of wonder intact, that's the gift of childhood in adulthood. The sense of wonder.
I think that's really beautiful, Jenny. And I think that, like, rediscovering that is part of being an adult for me, has been part of being an adult for me. And I do think that I've done a pretty good job. Like, I am a person who stops and looks at things and is like, look at this flower, look at this bug, look
You're
at the, like, I'm that weirdo.
you absolutely have that magic and that sense of wonder, and you've made it through really tough times.
Yeah.
I also love, like, this is just a way to say, like, I love your, like, the diversity of your literary life. From like, you read many different genres and you share many different genres. Like, that to me too even expresses wonder, because someone like me, who's maybe a little set in our ways, is like, I like nonfiction, I like memoir, I like flash, but you like everything. You can tell when you meet someone, you can tell when you meet an adult where the sense of wonder has survived. And you can tell when you meet people where it has eroded away over time. I think if you lose it, you can find it again.
I
But
definitely think you can.
it takes work.
Oh, yeah.
Like therapy, it takes work.
Definitely takes work.
But I think that everyone can find it. I think about, I know we were going to talk about this today, probably, that we both lost siblings. But my brother, Matt, he really had that childlike sense of wonder. Everybody loved being around him. He really had a great sense of humor. He had it. And when addiction I think addiction kind of crowded that out. And, those chemical and biological changes crowded that out. But I don't think he ever lost it. Like, I know that people who knew him in the end of his life felt the same way about him that I did. So I think the question that I wanted to answer in writing this poem that you were so lovely to invite me to write, and thank you, was the question was like, what makes childhood survivable?
Mm.
And I think it's a sense of wonder. And it's up to us as adults to show that um, to our children and the children in our lives, the children who who come to know us. You know, I've got 4 kids, so
Mhm.
I've got hundreds of kids in my life. They're friends, my nieces and nephews.
Mhm.
You know, the people that I love, and they deserve it. They deserve it. They deserve to see the adults in their life holding on to that sense of wonder
Yeah.
in spite of what's happening in the world around
Yeah.
us.
I agree. And it's also, as you were talking about all this, I was thinking about how, you interact with adults, especially when you have children who
Yeah.
you feel like don't remember what it was like to be a child. And you think like, how did that happen to you? Like that you don't, particularly I feel like with teenagers, like they forget how hard it was,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
challenging it is to be a
Yeah.
teenager. I think it's hard. And you think, how did you forget? It must have been hard for you, you know?
I was
And I think it probably is related to awe and what you're taught, like wanting to be a grown up, and like that being a grown up is somebody who's left these things behind. And yeah, I don't want to leave those things behind. Like I don't
no,
want to forget what
no.
what I've
Some people say it's
experienced and where I am now.
like, I think some people say it's like being a kid at heart or being young at heart.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that part. I don't know about that part. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to go back and wear things that I wore.
No,
I
that's
don't
the
want to
thing.
stay
I
out
don't
till two
know.
in the morning.
Not at all.
But I want to see that weed growing through the crack on the sidewalk. Like
Yeah. Yep.
um, I had a conversation with school with an administrator, not in my child's school, somebody else who I know who
Mm-hmm.
works as a school administrator, and they were talking about what a nightmare they were as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, and she was being really hard on herself.
Yeah.
And because she worked in a school, she was talking about how it was important for her to like kind of be hard on the students that she worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked at her kind of from a place of compassion, and I said, "What do you mean you were a nightmare as a teenager?" She's like, "Oh God, it was awful. I had an attitude. I talked back to people. I did this. I did that." I go, "That wasn't your fault." She just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "There's a reason that you had an attitude. There's a reason there's a reason that you behaved in that way. Like, where were the people that were kind of guiding you and helping you?" I'm like, "That wasn't your fault." Oh man, it was like like she just stopped, and I was like, "You were like, I go, don't you have teenagers? Do you think it's their fault?" And she was. I think when an adult can see themselves as a child, it's just it's such a beautiful thing. And that's why I really love that you ask for a photograph of
Yeah.
your subjects
Mm-hmm.
as a child,
Mm-hmm.
because we love those children.
Yeah.
We love them
Mm-hmm.
just like we love our own children, just like we love the child in everyone.
Mm-hmm.
In everyone. It is not easy to see the child in everyone, but that
Mm-hmm.
person is there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, Michelle Yang, who participated very early on in this, she was the first one who did it. I didn't do it originally, and she said, "Oh, if it's okay, I'm gonna send you this picture of the child that I'm writing about." I was
oh,
like, it made me so happy to see this picture of her and to connect that childhood Michelle with her words. And I was like, this is brilliant. And every week when I get one of those photos, it makes me so happy. Like I really look forward to receiving the photos because
yeah,
yeah, there's something. And when else you asked to send a picture of your childhood self? Like, I mean, there's just something really, I don't know. It's very joyous for me, for sure.
I feel like when I see pictures of,
Oh, you just went away. Jenny, you froze and you're muted. Wait, no, I can't hear you. Oh, now I can probably. I can hear you now. Something happened.
hey,
Okay. Did
um,
your phone ring?
it didn't ring. I have it on
Okay.
Do Not Disturb.
Oh,
I have like a time limit on Instagram because I love social media so much, and
are you
it's
about to
like,
get
oh,
kicked
you've been on
off?
enough. Um, but when I see a childhood picture of someone I know,
Mm-hmm.
I feel very proud of that person.
Mm-hmm.
I feel very proud of that
Mm-hmm.
person. And when I see a picture of myself as a child, I think about like everything that person had to go through
Mm-hmm.
to get here.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, thank you, little Jennie. You did a great job. You did a great job. Look at it. Look at everything
Mm-hmm.
you went through. Just like we say to our own children, like, I am so proud of you.
Yeah.
Your road has not been easy. I
Yeah.
also think it's important to like as an educator, I think it's important to like tell kids. I'm smiling at you,
You're
little
making me cry.
Allison. I think it's important to tell children, I see how hard this is. Actually, to say, I have no understanding of how hard this is because this technology that you live with didn't
Mm-hmm.
exist when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't even say to them, I understand. We don't understand.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is kind of our making as adults. So I think we just have to say to them, I really, truly admire you. I admire you. I admire my kids a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
I really do admire all children in this world.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a single child I don't admire.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
You probably want to hear my
I
poem.
do
I know you said
really want
I
to
know
hear
you
your
said like
poem.
18 to 19 minutes was the sweet spot. I probably ran over that already. But
Did I say 18? That seems very specific for me. I think I said 20 to 30.
oh,
It's my
really?
sweet spot. Yeah. So you got
Okay.
4 minutes. I'm just kidding.
Okay. I'll be really fast.
I'm
Um,
kidding. Take your time.
well, I was really struggling because, like I said, I truly grew up in like suburbia between Baltimore and Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
on land that had been farmland, uh, kind of knocked down for these
Mm-hmm.
developments. Um, and again, I I wrote and wrote and revised till I got my question, and my
Mm-hmm.
question was, what makes childhood survivable?
Mm-hmm.
And one of my answers is wonder, but there's a second answer, and I'll share that one with you when I finish reading.
Okay.
So, would you
Yeah.
like me to read now?
Yes. I love it.
Okay. So this is my Where I'm From poem. I am from quarter acre and vinyl siding, from dandelions and onion grass, and tar smoothed over the driveway. I'm from peeling paper in the crux of a three-pronged birch, and the mound of fragrant sawdust she left, scarred plot in the yard. Mama, what happened to my kingdom? I'm from linoleum and mop and glow, from veneer and lemon pledge. I'm from napkins on and elbows off. I'm from children are to be seen and not heard. I'm from Woodlawn, Westview, Security Square Mall. Free riding in the well of the Wayback. Wishes born of mother's coin purse. Copper pennies, fountain flung, back to school, Buster Brown. A family photo at Olin Mills. I'm from the day my mother remembers buying a new coat. I'm from an old divot near Dad's groin, the car that hit the bike, the handlebars that missed the artery. I'm from the saved leg. Hope became my kingdom. Come, inheritance that greets all memory with love. Thank
Yay!
you.
It's so
Thank you.
fun to hear you read it. I've read it, but then it's always wonderful to hear a poet read their poem. And
Uh, I'm
so what
pleased with how it came out.
it's
So,
beautiful. And to me it speaks to so many of like I mean Buster Brown. I haven't heard that in a while, so that
and I
takes me
have all my
back.
Buster Browns in my photo.
Oh, you
Uh-huh.
do? Okay, I have to
Yeah.
I don't in my photo because I'm wearing a nightgown, but I would have had them on if I was wearing shoes at that time.
Um, I I feel like the second, you know, you can't write about your childhood without acknowledging your parents. And I wanted to maintain the spirit of the original poem
Mm.
by including certain
Hmm.
things, like a little bit of the grotesque
Hmm.
or the
Yeah,
language.
yeah, yeah.
Um, meaning like the
Yeah.
dialogue. And I also wanted to have a tree in my poem as well, because I think that image of the leaf fall from the family tree is so beautiful.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and I also wanted to be able to acknowledge like how grateful I am for my parents. You know, the mother I grew up with, I don't have the same mom now because my brother passed away. Like, and you know this too, that she has suffered the greatest injustice that a mother can suffer. So I wanted to show how much I appreciate my parents, how much how much I love my parents, even though we have this really profound pain in our life from losing my brother, you know. But I want to show that I still have my sense of wonder, and the other tool that I have is my sense of hope for the future.
Yeah.
Even though I lost my brother to an overdose. So
Yeah.
I appreciate, just like I appreciate everything that little Jennie went through, I appreciate everything the child version of my mother went through and child version of my father. My mother was raised in adversity. And she told me about the day that she had enough money to buy a new coat.
Yeah.
So I'm not from the day that happened.
Right.
I'm from the day that she told me about that happening, because that changed my life, to think of my mother not being able to have a coat. My dad had a bodily reminder that he was nearly killed in a car accident.
Yeah.
And we could see it when he wore his bathing suit. I wouldn't even be here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be here to consider all of this if my father had not. And it was really, I had written a lot about it in like earlier versions of the poem, about my dad being a little boy alone in the Bethesda Naval Hospital when his father was like deployed in the South Pacific. They thought he was going to die, this big long thing. But like, the point is that if I'm going to remember my dad being a stickler about manners at the table, in that same breath, I have to remember that I'm almost not here because he survived by himself as a little boy a really bad car accident. Someone hit him when he was riding his bike. So I think that part of wonder, part of hope, is the gratitude that, like we said, I get to be here for this. I get to be here for this.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is that it's all like a miracle that we're here.
Yeah. The miracle of childhood, the miracle of making it through childhood to get here, to be someone's child, to raise children of our own. It's just like unbelievable. And that's where the real wonder shines through.
Yeah. I agree.
Thank you so much for having me, and
thank you, Jennie.
It's really special. I love the series, and I love your work as a writer and your role in the writing community. I really admire you.
Oh, I feel the same way about you. I love your writing. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, Jennie, that's how we first became connected. Jennie wrote a piece in the New York Times, and I reached out to say how much it meant to me, and then we became friends. And I mean, to me, that's a miracle. Like, that is something about technology that is truly miraculous to me. Like, you, Lynn, so many people that I'm friends with, that their writing spoke to me, and I told them, and then we kept talking. Like, I mean, so much of my early life, I felt isolated and alone, and to be able to connect with people, I mean, it does, to me, I'm full of awe about that. So,
yeah, likewise. When my brother died on May 15th, 2020. So we were in
so recently, Jennie.
It was
Lynn and I talk about it.
They say that to me all the time.
Goodness, yes.
Yeah. There's sometimes when I'm like really in despair, and the kind of sibling grief community that you and I are both part of, like they say to me, like, it's still so early, But still, when it happened, we were truly isolated, and um, the connection between in the writing community really helped me. So I agree with you. Being able to connect over social media, digitally being able to connect, it has really helped me. And I do have wonder about that. And one of my favorite kind of comments, they always say, like, don't read the comments. Like, you're never supposed to read the comments. I I try to adhere to that because it serves no purpose.
No, and
Like,
people say some really ugly things that are unrelated mostly, but they still don't feel good.
people say ugly things, and then the things that are positive really don't serve me either, because it's just like, it doesn't serve me. Like, it doesn't serve my writing. However, I will read, like, if someone reaches out to me,
Right.
as you did, then I will read. So somebody wrote to me that I had said, like, how proud I was of my brother, like how proud I was that he navigated prescription drug addiction in a society that doesn't understand it.
Right.
And our society still doesn't understand it. Like, those of us who are in it, I guess maybe we kind of get it. Like, I think I get it as far up to a point, to the place where I haven't experienced it.
Right.
But there's enough literature and enough science for anyone who truly wants to understand opiate addiction to get some kind of picture about it. Someone wrote to me, so I said how proud I was of my brother, that he had, like, navigated it for so long without understanding, without societal understanding. And someone wrote to me and said that she had been in recovery for 20 years from opiate addiction, but that no one had ever said they were proud of her for the time when she was in active addiction. And she said that she said, it's the first time I've been able to look back at that person and feel proud of them, which is, I always love it when conversations come full circle, and we were here talking about feeling proud of the childhood version of ourselves. And I do feel strongly that people who are in recovery should be able to look back on that time when they were in active addiction and feel really proud of themselves for making it through alone or with limited support. So anyway, that was a really special connect. That's always the most special thing, when I hear from people who were in it, or from the people who are in recovery who care enough to reach out to me and, like, say, are you okay? Or I'm with you, or I'm feeling for you. Like, I really, 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 really appreciate that. And I try to do that too as a writer. I do try to reach out to other writers and say, hey, I loved your piece, or I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
We don't say that enough in our society. Like, we don't say,
I'm
really
proud of you, Jennie.
I'm proud of you, Allison. I'm proud of you.
Truly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing so much with your talking about your brother, your advocacy. I do think you're helping with the stigma of opiate addiction. I think it's so important. And, like, I feel like it goes in, where people are talking about it a lot, and it's on people's minds, and a show comes out, or, but the reality is, when you're living with addiction, you're living with addiction. So it's happening, whether people are paying attention or not. And I feel like your message is very, very important, and I'm glad that you're doing it, and it's meaningful, and thank you.
Thanks, Allison, and thanks for having me. And I can't wait to, I know we'll be connecting again soon because of our sibling grief community. And thanks for all that you do. That I was just the other day talking to a person who I've known for a long time, like, kind of in the way that you pass each other all the time, right? And the topic came up that I had lost my brother, and she said that she had lost her brother too. And it was kind of like, when the record scratches and everything's quiet, and that knowing look, like, people don't understand us. Like, people don't understand how I
Hmm.
feel. And then she said that she had lost her brother just 2 years ago. And that's when I got to be
Hmm.
in the other place and say, it's so new for you. It's so new for you, you know? But it's just one of those things. It's one of those things that so many people live within the world,
Yeah.
not just about sibling loss, but like where you have um, you're in an experience that people don't understand.
Yeah.
Maybe much like addiction. So it's so helpful to have friends, to have
It
friends.
is.
And I'm glad you're my friend.
I'm glad you're my friend too. Well, thank you to
Maybe we
everyone
would
who
have been
joined
friends
us.
as kids. Maybe the child versions of us would have been
We might have
friends.
been. I was friends with most people, as I'm guessing you were too. So we probably would have been friends.
We were trying, right?
I was, yeah, no, I was like, none of these people make a lot of sense to me, but I'm gonna keep like going. It's gonna happen eventually.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just keep putting yourself out there. That was the philosophy. So and still is, I think, for the most part. It's like, well, you just keep putting yourself out there and you find
Yep.
your people. And I've gotten much better at when people aren't my people, realizing that's okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a me problem. We're
Mm-hmm.
just not meant to be friends. It's okay. But back
Yeah.
then, I definitely felt like it was a me problem. And that's part of what
Yeah.
was so painful about childhood.
Yeah.
Was like,
I think that's
oh,
natural. I think
yeah,
probably all kids feel that way.
probably. But of course, I felt very unique because that's how you feel when you're a kid. You
That's
know, it's
how
just
you
me.
feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yep.
it's like a good practice to look at people that maybe that, you know, they wouldn't be our best friend or whatever, but just to, you know, look at them as a kid too and
For sure.
have that empathy for them, even if it's someone that we're not going to be. And I also think that like we have an unrealistic expectation that we're supposed to be friends with everyone. Like
Yes.
that's impossible, you know?
Yes.
But we can like really connect with people even if they're not like our besties, you know.
Hmm.
So, and I do like that. I think that's what makes life worth living is connecting.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, thank you for
Yeah.
connecting with me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. I'll
Well,
talk to you soon, Jenny.
I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again. I
Okay.
had a great time and have a great day.
Okay. You too.
Bye.